Hello everyone and welcome to A Slice of My Life. No accessories on my hands today because I will be handling my Grail knife. You guys already read the video title, so I will not keep you guys in suspense any longer. It is the Koenig Zenaida. This is a pretty rare knife. Now I don't know the exact details, in terms of how many were made, but I know that it is very rare. So I just thought I would make this really quick video to show you guys about my Grail knife, just kind of like a show and tell to let you guys know that yes, I finally managed to procure one. Actually, I've had this in my possession for the last half a year. Now I got into knives for almost, I would say, like a year or so, and this was actually one of the first knives that I really wanted to own. Prior to that, I was looking at more budget options, but then the reason why I fell in love with this is because I watched a video by BLADESHOW where they featured TJ Schwarz, the designer of this beautiful folding pocket knife. And when he spoke about it and he went into the details of it, I was like, wow, the construction of this and the whole ideology behind it is just amazing. Because coming from a creative background, like I'm currently working in advertising, so a lot of these design rationales and the execution of things really mean a lot to me, and so this is like a culmination of that. Every small little detail just flows into this one single knife and it just works really well. So I just want to put this out there. This is not going to be a review video. It is not even going to be too much about this particular knife. I'll put details on the screen somewhere, but it's really not so much about this knife. It's more of the story behind it, like how I procured it and why I consider this my Grail knife. Okay, so really quickly, I'm going to give you guys a size comparison so that I can get this out of the way. It is a 2 3/4 inch bladed knife, but here we go. This is the CRKT Pilar that you guys can see. It is a little bit longer than the Pilar. I also have the Benchmade Mini Griptilian, and it is slightly shorter in overall length when compared to the Mini Griptilian. And last but not least, we have a Spyderco Delica, just for size comparison, also a little bit shorter than the Spyderco Delica. And here we go. This, everyone, is the Koenig Zenaida folding pocket knife. The blade is made of S35VN and the scales are made of titanium. And those of you with a keen eye or have done your research or have been looking at Zenaidas would have noticed that both sides of the scales have been stonewashed, and that's because I stonewashed it. Now, if I'm not wrong, the original form or the stock form has the show side in a stonewash finish, but the lock side in a bead blasted finish. But the reason why I stonewashed it is because by the time I received it, it already had marks of wear. Like, it started to show signs of wear. The previous user definitely was holding it, at least because the blade doesn't look like it's seen much use. Of course, it's not the sharpest thing, but the blade has not seen much use. You could see that it's been very evenly stone washed as well. I didn't do anything to the blade. You could see that grind there, the bevel looks pretty good as well, but you could clearly see a lot of scratch marks being left. When you're talking about a bead blasted finish, usually you get those kind of marks, right? Just simply by holding a knife, you would ding it up a little bit, and I found that a little bit unsightly, so I stonewashed this. Now, this, like I said, guys, is my Grail, and the reason why it's my Grail, well, you see, I own a couple of custom knives, I own a couple of mid-tech knives, I own a whole bunch of production knives, and the Zenaida technically is a production knife by Koenig, of course, but I don't know what the exact numbers of the run was. I think it was maybe 100, I'm not so sure. And these were apparently numbered, but the one that I got is not numbered. See, it says NA, and it is marked here as the BLADESHOW 2015 Most Innovative American Knife of the Year. I believe that this was actually procured from the BLADESHOW itself. Now, I know that there are a few pieces out there where people actually went and visited the BLADESHOW and managed to get themselves one of these. I believe that these were maybe the prototypes or maybe part of the first run that were made to be shown off at the BLADESHOW, because I got into the knife game kind of late, like just recently, so I've heard a lot of things about BLADESHOW, SHOT Show, things like that, but I believe that a lot of makers actually bring a lot of goodies and a lot of preview blades and knives to put on sale there. So I believe that this was one of those. That's why it has no number. So like I said, when I first heard of this was during the time when I first got into knives. I was looking at basic, very budget folded knives, and at the point of time, CRKT was one of the brands that really stood out to me because of the amount of, I guess, different builds that they had for knives. Like, most of it were frame locks and liner locks, but they did have, for example, the field strip technology. And of course, at the point of time, we had people like Snex, who was putting really crazy engineering marvels into folding pocket knives. And so, I was kind of like exploring the options that I had for a folding pocket knife. I really wanted something that was cool, functional in a sense, but more of something interesting in the way it was made. And so when I watched that video and I heard everything that TJ Schwarz said about this, it completely blew my mind, because to me that was like an engineering marvel, you know. And then I found out about the price, and I read that it was going on sale for $400, and by the time I found out about it, this was in 2018, I was already 3 years late. So I kept on the lookout, you know, I was like searching high and low for it. I visited every site possible. I went onto forums, I went onto Reddit threads, trying to hit up anyone who had sales posts on these. I actually hit up some people on Instagram I saw as well, but no luck. One fateful day, I just decided I would run a search on Google, and it led me to a Yahoo auction site, and this is where I actually got this piece. I got it off a Yahoo Japan auction listing, and I purchased it via a third-party service. I think it's called From Japan, and I signed up for that just so that I could purchase this. And I'm gonna be really honest with you guys, it had only 1 day left in that sales listing, and so I jumped on it, and to my surprise I managed to get it. I snagged it for what I would consider as a really good price for this. Now I'm assuming, based on my knowledge of the knife world, that this would fetch a higher price, you know. Of course, when it retailed at 400, I think that people will be easily selling this for like about 600 or more, but I got this, yes, albeit maybe slightly used, I should say, because I don't know exactly how used this thing is, but I got it for about 350, which to me is quite a good deal. Once again, let me show you guys, this is not one of those kind of flipper knives where you kind of flick it open, like say for example the Pilar, where you could kind of just flick it open like this, you know, and it would just like almost drop shut and things like that. The reason why this is not possible is because this features 0 screws. For those of you who don't know much about the Koenig Zenaida, let me just tell you guys, okay, the way it's made is for you to disassemble it completely, and I mean like completely, without the use of any tools whatsoever. And that's where the engineering marvel lies, and I thought it was so cool. So you know, there are some flaws to this knife, you know, but that's not the main point. I really wanted to get it because of this whole ideology behind it, the way it's constructed and everything. So you know what, I'm just going to show you guys how I tear it down so you guys can see here. See that? On the quote-unquote backspacer, the spine of the knife here is actually dovetails. So how you take it apart is really quite cool. This is where everything is being held in place. Okay, so here we go, just like that. And for some reason my camera's focusing on this. I'm gonna just move this out of the way so that the autofocus would be here instead. So over here is another recessed cut, one that you would find here for the lock bar. We just gotta push this upwards. There's a nub here, and then we're gonna slide the top scale this way. And so in order to do that and to protect the knife, I have a microfiber cloth and a flathead screwdriver. Wrap the flathead screwdriver with the microfiber cloth, pop it in between the scales here, and then lift up this part over here, and there's a little nub, and then I will slide the top scale outwards this way, and you guys will see, man, how amazing this thing is. There we go. So you see it kind of slides just like that, slides apart. So this is what it looks like, and this is also how you remove the pocket clip. If you don't want the pocket clip, you just gotta pop it out like that. Simple, easy, very straightforward. And this nub over here interfaces with this over here, and that's what locks it in place. So you could see the scratch marks like that. Clearly this has been opened and closed quite a lot of times. I think I've only done it like maybe 5 times so far, but this was already like crazy scratched by the time I first opened it. So I'm thinking maybe it was being shown off quite a lot of times at Blade Show, or maybe the previous owner messed with it quite a lot, I don't know. And at the same time you could also see a lot of marks here as well, and some dents or nicks on the edge here, and that's because I think that whoever opened this up in the past didn't try to protect this with a layer, like for example with a microfiber cloth or something. So that's quite a bummer, but you know, it is one of the rare pieces, so I'm not one to complain. And the next piece we are going to remove is the stop pin here, but I'm going to disengage the blade and the lock just a little bit so that the blade would not be touching against the stop pin, and I'm going to knock it out. There we go. And like I mentioned, the stop pin goes in only one way, so I'm going to put it right here, just in that orientation, so that I don't screw up and get it on the wrong side, because once you fit it in the wrong side, it would still close, but you could never really close your knife properly. And then after that, we're going to push this part out almost towards the 90-degree position, and then we're going to slide it out just like that, and then we can remove the top half of the scale. This whole thing just comes apart very straightforward from here on out. Just lift this off, and there we go. We got phosphor bronze washers here, and if you want, you could totally just pop this whole pivot pin out and clean it up if you really wanted to. And this is basically the full disassembly of this knife. Really simple, really straightforward, and I think that it is such a wonderfully made knife. I think the tolerances are really well done by Koenig Knives, so kudos to them. It is not meant to be one of those really smooth opening and closing kind of knives, simply because of the way this is made. There's no actual screws here, so the tolerances here has to be really tight, so the whole thing is just squeezing onto the blade, and the washer's pretty hard, or pretty, I would say, with quite a good amount of friction, so that's what actually keeps the blade centering in place, and as well as prevent any kind of blade rocking. But guys, really, to me, this is the part, man. This is the part that really gets me. Like, who would have thought of a circular sliding motion with dovetail cuts? Like, what the heck, this is so cool. So what else adds on to the whole entire ideology around the Zenaida is actually that the Zenaida is a Latin name for a smaller species of doves. And when we talk about doves, we're talking about the dovetail design here, right? And I know that it is not present here on this knife, but if you look at TJ Schwarz's logo, you will see that his logo also features a dovetail. So that is just, you know, to me, it's like a really well planned, well thought out whole theme that is put into this knife. And wow, I'm just so blown away by the whole thought process put into this. So this was, you know, really, to me, a really difficult knife to come by or come across. And so right now you guys are just watching me reassemble this knife, and you will see how simple it is, how straightforward it is to reassemble this beauty. So there we go. We've reassembled the Koenig Zenaida. See? Frame lock. Just disengage. Close. Man, I don't know, I just really am glad that I got one of these. If you guys have any more information about this, like, you know, if this really was from BLADESHOW 2015, please let me know, because, you know, I got into the knife game late. 3 years after the Zenaida was released. So please let me know, because, you know, this is all the information I have. I tried to reach out to the seller of this particular knife, but the only way to contact that person was through Yahoo Japan, and I didn't have a Yahoo Japan account. Like I said, I bought this via from Japan. It's a kind of a purchasing service, you know, of sorts. The information I have about this is limited. I've been trying to research a little bit more about this online, but there's only so much information I can find online, you know, besides the fact that most web stores state that it is either discontinued or they are out of stock of this. So yep, that's all I have right now. I just wanted to share this with you guys and let you all know that this is my Grail knife. It's not so much about, you know, the function of it, the way it fits in my hand. I mean, of course, it is quite comfortable, because you can see, right? It's very ergonomic, in my opinion. It suits my hand very well. It is a thumb stud opener, maybe not my favorite kind of opening mechanism. It's also got jimping up here, which is quite comfortable. The lock bar tension is actually pretty tough, you know, this being titanium, but it is really the way it's made, the engineering marvel, and the whole idea behind this is just amazing. So in a sense, I guess kudos to TJ Schwarz for this. And you know, in the future, who knows, Koenig Knives might consider to make another batch of these. If not, maybe, I don't know if TJ would want to collaborate with them again and come up with a, I guess, a modified version of the Zenaida, or maybe a Zenaida V2, you know, something that would maybe have a flipper tab or something. I don't know. But you know, with all these new innovations and technologies being pushed out into the market, this one really stood out to me and stood the test of time, I guess, because I was so impressed with it 3 years after it was released. I just wanted to share this with you guys. You know, I haven't even showed you guys my knife collection that should be coming soon. I hope that you guys would be interested in seeing my knife collection as well. I know I'm new to all this knife and EDC things over here on this channel, but for those of you who have been sticking around from day one, I hope that you enjoy this kind of content as well. Thank you so much for sticking all the way throughout. And if you guys want to support the channel, I do run a Patreon page. I'll put a link in the description box down below, or you could click up here in this corner over here where I put a card there. And that's about it. I mean, I just wanted to share this with you. I know I've said that a lot of times, but really, this is the last time I'm gonna say it. So thank you so much for sharing in this aspect of my life, everyone, and I'll catch all of you in the next video, whatever that may be. Until then, Gaga. Boom. Oh, and I failed to mention that the lock bar cutout is also pretty unique. Look at that. With that kind of pseudo dovetail-ish kind of motif. Just awesome, man. Everything about this knife just goes so well together.